This episode is sponsored by The Path, the coach-guided membership designed to help you make alcohol small and irrelevant in your life by removing your true desire to grab that next drink. Our science-based, compassion-led program allows you not only to shift your behavior and your relationship around alcohol, but more importantly, uncover and reprogram your subconscious conditioning and neural connections that have been keeping you stuck for years. With daily live breakthrough coaching, an intimate and supportive community, regular peer-to-peer connection calls, and a complete vault of resources, this is where your path to total freedom and effortless enjoyment of your new way of life begins. Join us at nakedmindpath.com. Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to this Naked Mind podcast. And I am here with Lisa. Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Annie. How are you?
Really good. It's not, negative degrees here, so I'm happy. It's warmer. Yay. So why don't you sort of walk me back to kind of the beginning of your drinking journey? Take me back to the early days. Where did it all start for you?
Gosh, it's funny because I don't really remember. I was born in 1958. And I was one of a family of five kids in the family, and we lived in sort of post-war New Zealand, had a great upbringing, lots of running around doing healthy things, and but I know I grew up with an awareness that my mother had a problem with alcohol, although I don't recall seeing her drink, really. Alcohol wasn't part of our daily life that I recall as we were growing up, but it was kind of there. And I remember going to parties as a teenager, and certainly there was alcohol around, but I don't think like it is now for young people. The boys would take a crate of beer, and I think sometimes, there was a bottle of cold duck or something. I mean, there wasn't much wine around in those days. But I don't recall really drinking very much at all. I went to university and was very, very homesick. I went away to the South Island in New Zealand, and I do recall probably my first alcohol experience was with a bottle of whiskey, and that ended really badly, and I've never touched whiskey since. I don't think that alcohol was around all that much. But I think what happened for me was what I did that year was I found nicotine. And despite having been kind of rabidly opposed to smoking as a younger teenager, that first cigarette, when I was in my sort of the stress of exams, being away from home, being quite unhappy, was just like, oh, yes. I like that, and I was hooked to nicotine quite quickly, and that was the drug that I used to deal with stress for the next 12 years or so, and alcohol also crept into my life during that time. I formed a relationship quite young. I was 19, and had a busy life. We bought some land and out in the middle of nowhere, and built a house, and built two houses actually. Had a couple of, had one baby, and through that time, I managed stress largely by smoking, and all that time worried about the smoking. I smoked through my first pregnancy and felt terrible about it. And I think I also started to drink a bit. And I know, thinking back, family occasions became increasingly involving reasonably large amounts of alcohol. And yeah, so I wasn't drinking daily, but when I did drink, I was quite often drinking more than probably was good for me. But you know, it still felt normal, and it's what people did. I mean, that period between my teens and my sort of 30s was the time that wine really took off. You know, suddenly there was a lot of wine around. You could buy it in cardboard boxes. You could drink quite a lot without really knowing how much you were drinking. And that, yeah, it was just normal. You know, that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
When I was pregnant with my second child, I actually had a stillbirth, and I had another horrible thing happened while I was pregnant, and I said to myself, you've got to stop smoking, because if anything happens to this baby, you will never forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that did happen. And I, yeah, you know, the shame, the trauma of it, really, I guess it was, thinking back.
And so you blamed yourself.
I completely blamed myself, yeah, that I had killed my baby. So I actually haven't talked about this before. So, but it's part of the journey. And yeah, losing that baby, you know, I just wanted another baby. That was, you know, that's what felt necessary and urgent. But clearly I wasn't going to smoke. And interestingly, I mean, I didn't drink either. I mean, nothing entered my body that was in any way harmful throughout that next pregnancy. But after I had that baby, that's when I think the alcohol started to become an issue for me. So I was 32, 33, something like that. And I know by then that nightly glass of wine was just part of the routine. You know, you get through the day, and that's the treat. And it became very much part of cooking dinner, and definitely part of my sort of wider family events, and probably quantities that were more than were great. But it was such a slow progression, you know. I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
I you know, I wasn't worried about it. It was just it's what you do, and it was normal, and I wasn't suffering a lot of ill effects, and it probably was usually 1 or 2 glasses of wine, but you know, sometimes it would be much more, but not that often. I think by by my mid-40s, I was probably aware that my drinking was getting problematic. I do recall there was a time where I was I was commuting for a job and I was spending 2 days in Wellington. And I found myself hiding bottles of wine. I had a place I stayed while I was there. And I think at that point I was drinking probably half a bottle of wine a day, because I had half a bottle to hide for the next time. And then, so yeah, that was sort of 2005-ish. And it just kind of ticked up until my relationship broke down in a messy kind of way. And I alcohol has something to do with that. My partner wasn't a drinker. And I definitely started to drink more once I was living on my own. It started to get messy, but I didn't. At that point, it kind of felt like that was my sanity, that it was what made life okay. So why would I want to stop?
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing any obvious harm. I wasn't drinking and driving. It wasn't impacting on my work performance. It probably was impacting on my relationship with my kids. I don't think any kids wants to see a messy parent, and I was a messy parent. So that wasn't great. I then entered a new relationship, and my partner, now my husband, and I made the probably in retrospect stupid decision to buy a bar and restaurant.
Wow.
And we still live there. We live on site. And so I was now in an environment where I was selling alcohol. I was surrounded by alcohol, and I was quite stressed. We both had other jobs as well. It's been tough. Hospitality is a tough business, and certainly my drinking became more problematic. Again, there was never a rock bottom, but by 2018, I was every day waking up with a hangover and thinking, I can't do this. This is awful. I had days where I would sort of plot out my route to work, because bizarrely where I live, when they do alcohol checkpoints, it tends to be in the morning, because they bring the police into our rural area sort of once a week. So, and I would think, I might be over the limit, and perhaps if I take all these back routes, it just might be safer. I think it was starting to impact on my work performance. I mean, I felt like shit most of the time. I would go home. I'll say, I'm only going to have one. I'm going to have a drink of, I'll have one glass of wine, then I'll have water. I'd have one. I'd drink it really fast. I'd just about inhale the stuff. There was never just one. Sometimes I would say, I tended to buy my wine, even though I'm surrounded by it, because I didn't want anyone to know how much I was drinking. But then I would get rid of that bottle, and I'd be off down to the grog shed to find another bottle of the cheapest plonk that that I could find. And it was a really horrible place to be. Just feeling compelled to go on in this treadmill of abusing myself with this horrible alcohol, and feeling, you know, despite being a successful, supposedly intelligent woman who had everything, there was this thing in my life that I just could not control.
Yeah.
It was controlling me. And yeah, so that was when I started to think I need to do something. But I owned a bar, you know, admitting that I was doing things like sneaking out the back to scull a glass of wine when I was, you know, supposedly. I make it clear I was never in the bar drunk, but you know, sometimes I would be doing something else, and you know, I would just make sure pop out and have a glass of wine quickly, and before I went back and carried on with whatever it was. And I made sure that I wasn't in the bar very often, so I didn't have to worry about it. Yeah, I think that the turning point came when, also during that time, both my parents died, and there was a whole lot of family stuff went on that was quite difficult. Just before my father's funeral, I was out running with my dog at night, about 10 o'clock at night, obviously not very sober, and I managed to trip over the dog and fell, probably because I'd had too much to drink, and injured my leg. And I had to go to the doctor, and I've been suffering from heartburn quite badly, and seeing as I was at the doctor anyway, I said to her, look, I've got this pain in my chest. And she went, oh, you know, this woman's having a heart attack. I said, no, I'm sure it's not that. I think it's just heartburn. And she asked me about my drinking. And I've been asked that question before, but I'd lied. You know, I'd said, no, I don't drink very much. But on this occasion, I said, look, I actually drink far too much, and I don't know what to do about it. And it was an emergency doctor, and she sort of said, well, you should do something about it. Go and do something about it. The next time I went to see my own GP, she saw the notes from this emergency consult, and she said to me, what about you drinking? And I said, you know, I was honest. I said, look, I'm really worried about it. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to go to any local service, because as well as owning the bar, I had a job in the local health services as a sort of a management position. So there was no way that I was going to be seeing anyone locally. She was going to refer me to someone in a city close by, but that never happened. But she started to bug me about it. And she actually said to me, you're an alcoholic. And, you know, I sort of went, oh, no, I'm not. But for some reason, that very bald statement was enough to make me think, yeah, I know I am. And it's funny, I hadn't even done the online, I hadn't even Googled, am I an alcoholic? Because it was like, if I put that into a search engine, that's telling the world. So I'd stayed off any yeah, any Facebook groups or anything, because it was a completely private, horrible hell that I wasn't going to share with anyone. But then so this is 2018, and towards the end of 2018, despite me never Googling anything to do with alcohol, I started to get ads from you, Annie, for the intensive. And I looked at it and I can't remember the price, but in New Zealand dollars, it was pretty expensive. I think it was something like $1,300. And I had tried a couple of other things that hadn't made any difference. Oh, well, there's no point spending $1,300 on something that's not going to work, because nothing works, you know. I really thought I had two choices. And one was that I was going to drink myself to death, which was starting to seem quite imminent, really. I was 60 by now. Or the other choice was I was going to spend the rest of my life as a recovering alcoholic, being deprived of the thing that seemed so necessary to me. And neither of those things seemed at all attractive. You know, I really felt like this, I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. But yeah, I was interested in kind of what you had to say. And I thought, well, that's, yeah, too expensive, but I'll keep an eye on it. And then towards the end of that year, when things were really getting very bad for me, I was drinking a lot every day. My relationship was suffering. My health was suffering. It was dire. And then you started to advertise for the alcohol experiment, the first live alcohol experiment. And that was, what, $47, I think?
Really?
And well, that's only a couple of bottles of wine. So, no, I've got nothing much to lose. So I did pre-order your book and I signed up. And with absolutely no expectation that anything was going to change, because this was just a trap that I was stuck in. And I can't remember when the book arrived, but the 1st of January came along, and because in the States you're behind us, the 1st of January was, I was thinking, well, it's not the 1st of January in the States yet, so I don't have to worry about it today.
Yeah.
It was a good excuse. 2nd of January, I still hadn't opened the book. I don't think, even looked at the first video. But I did, I think, only have 2 glasses of wine. So I was kind of feeling a bit aware. 3rd of January, I still hadn't opened the book or done anything, but something happened, some trivial little event that gave me an excuse to go and drink a whole bottle of wine and probably then some. And I woke up with a monumental hangover on the 4th of January and thought, oh, you know, I cannot go on doing this to myself. So I did open the book on the 4th of January and started to read it. And I started to watch the videos. I caught up on the 3 days and it all made sense. And, you know, I mean, yeah, I think the hugest thing for me was just realizing I wasn't alone. You know, this wasn't just me. It's not my private hell. I wasn't broken. And the community was amazing. I think, you know, at that point for me, the anonymity of it was really important. The fact that these were people who were not in my small town judging me. These were people all around the world who didn't care how much I drank at all. And yeah, I mean, it was like finding a key to get out of that hell, So I didn't, and that's the last alcoholic drink I've had, on the 4th of January 2019, 3rd of January 2019.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it literally felt like a miracle. Absolutely.
That's amazing. And so how has it been?
It's been an amazing journey. It really has. Like, I mean, obviously that the first few days were a bit rough. I think I went to bed at 8 o'clock, because I just, how do I get through an evening without this drinking? I drank an awful lot of alcohol-free beer for a while and ate a lot of sugar. But it was doable. No, it wasn't that hard, and so quickly life was better, even though I didn't sleep very well for quite a long time. Just having a clear head. I'd got to the point that I walk these days every morning with my dog, and I kept doing that regardless of how much I drank, because actually that was kind of the only way I got myself up and going in the morning. But sometimes I thought, I was going to have a stroke or something. It was just, my head felt so dreadful. I'm constantly fuzzy, just not functioning properly at all. And the joy of waking without that feeling, and being aware of the birds singing, and my sense of smell coming back. All your senses just are so much sharper, and it was like life just coming back into focus. So yeah, I think, really quickly I knew I just didn't ever want to take the risk of going back into that place again. So I didn't ever toy with moderation. I just, and I think, I mean, quite quickly I managed to not see any benefits in alcohol. I still had some cravings. I still, my body still was telling me, yes, you want to drink, but my brain really rewired quite fast. So it's yeah. But I also knew I needed support. So interesting. I mean, at the end of that month, I signed up for the intensive, which I had thought was too expensive. I decided, well, actually, this is priceless, this freedom. So I did want that ongoing accountability. And at the end of the intensive, I did the 100 days.
Awesome.
So that gave me 7 months of community and support, and little doses of Annie Grace every morning. You became part of my morning routine, as I'd have a shower, and then as I was kind of, doing the things you have to do after a shower, I'd play you video. And and that was just all part of the support package I put around myself.
It's wonderful.
And then yeah, by the end of that 7 months, I'd decided to sign up for the coaching program. So,
And now you have clients and are helping people and paying it forward, and the ripple is going and
yeah,
making a difference.
yeah,
Oh,
because it's the whole world needs to know that you don't need to be stuck in that horrible place.
mhm. It's so great. So how is it still owning the bar and restaurant?
Um, it's well, I quite like not to own it, but that's another story.
Doable, it's manageable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was really, really lucky that my husband, once I think that was the other thing I did on the 4th of January 2019 was I stopped lying to him about what I was doing. And I sat down and I said, I have a problem and I'm really going to try and do something about it now, and I need your support. And I literally did not go into our bar for months. He completely protected me. I didn't want to watch people drinking, but you know, by the time I got to, I don't know, probably 9-10 months, I suppose, I could watch. No, it was quicker than that, actually. I don't know. It's fine now. No, I mean, what I have done is I've really tried to make sure we've got really good alcohol-free drinks. We're out in the country, so to get here, people have to drive. There's no public transport. We've got quite strong liquor legislation in New Zealand, which is completely ineffective, really, because we've got a huge drinking problem. But yeah, so kind of my alcohol-free journey is in sync with kind of the direction that society's going, in a way. So yeah, it's okay. No, I don't have a problem. I have a problem with people getting drunk, but you know, I had a problem with that before. I mean, that is a problem you have in a business like ours, and you have to manage that. So that's not really different.
Yeah, absolutely.
The really funny thing is that we had this really extensive premium wine list. We bought these really, really expensive wines that we were, thinking that people might want to buy by the bottle, and which actually never sold. And just after I stopped drinking, my husband decided that, oh, this is a waste. We might as well just drink them. I thought, well, great, why did you wait till now? So he's now having to wait till we have guests to use these special wines because I'm not drinking them.
Oh man. So 2 questions for you. First of all, where can people find you if they're interested to, in taking the journey further and working with someone like yourself? Where can people find you?
They can find me on my website, which is www.bloomhealth.nz.
Okay, awesome. So
And I'll do a free discovery call with anyone who's interested. I love helping people. find freedom. I think it is, yeah, so fantastic.
It's such a gift. It's wonderful. And then, so Lisa, if you were going to go back in time and talk to, Lisa of before, who felt really stuck and felt like, well, nothing's going to work anyway, might as well just drink myself to death, what would you tell her about how it's all turned out?
What would I say? I'd just say, I'd say that there's an amazing life out there, and you deserve it. You deserve it. I think, I'd like to go back. I'd like to go back to the 18-year-old me who had no skills, nothing in her toolbox to deal with the stress in a healthy way. Like I'd like to get to all those 18-year-olds out there and say, actually your brain is the most amazing thing, and you can do so much.
Mm.
And numbing is never the answer.
So good.
And that if you numb the bad feelings, you're numbing the good feelings too.
Mm-hmm.
And the good feelings are so great. I think that's what I'd like to say.
I love that so much. It's so wonderful. Well, what a powerful and moving story. So much hope and good out of, something that was so bringing you to the depths of the whole experience, but it's really beautiful. So I appreciate you sharing it so much.
Well, thank you, Annie, because I don't know where I'd be now. I really don't.
You're so welcome. This part is always like, I appreciate that very much. I think that you are the one to do the work and to turn on the videos and to show up every day and to do all this stuff. And so I think it's really all down to your choices, but I'm happy to play a part in giving information in a new way, which I think is my job. So, and I'm so happy to have the experience of just, getting to know you in real life and meeting you in Denver and all those sorts of things. It's been really fabulous.
Yeah, such a shame we couldn't get together this year.
Yes, soon enough, hopefully. Gosh, but awesome. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Annie, and have a lovely day.
You too.
Hi, it's Annie Grace. I wanted to interrupt this podcast, I guess the end of this podcast, to say that if you're totally serious about actually and truly and forevermore transforming your relationship with alcohol, really leaving it behind in the rearview mirror for once and forever, and changing your psychology about it, we have a program called The Path that I've created specifically for you. Now, it's not for you if you're still dabbling or trying to figure out where you want to be, or maybe even if you still want to moderate. All those things are fine. That's great. But if you're beyond that and you're like, no, I just want to be done with this. I'm ready to invest some time and I'm ready to just make this happen. I want the answer. I want the easy way out. Then I want you to check out nakedmindpath.com and join us in the path, where you receive coach-guided and community support so that you can truly make this lasting change that you want in your life. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, as it truly helps the message reach somebody who might need to hear it today.